Hello again to all my listeners tuning in today. Welcome to Fractured Poet, a podcast for all of you poetically insane individuals who love getting lost in the art of poetry. Podcasting from Ontario, California, I am your host, Katrina Wisniewski, just another person in the world obsessed with words, striving to make sense of it all. This episode is a continuation from the previous episode, also titled Thoughts in My Head. This is just part 2. Rather than having 4 poems to read, I chose to recite 6 poems today. I am gradually extending my episodes so you can get me longer than a couple minutes. It's scattered, but getting longer nonetheless. So, getting to the point, I will begin the first poem. This one is called Standing in the Crossfire. Understand when I say that I am no longer in control. Expecting the worst, then suddenly controversy arises. I am caught in the crossfire. A stranger in my own skin, huddled in a corner just trying to forget. Like a slithering snake shedding away its sins, leaving behind what never really mattered. Choking on life's lessons, as it criticizes everything I've ever done. I am at my wit's end. The world as I know it has gone dark. Suddenly I feel at ease, letting go of my surroundings, becoming one with the darkness. I am home. Please don't misunderstand me when I say that I have lost all control. I have accepted the worst, embraced the controversy, and yet somehow still get caught in the crossfire. There is so much emotion in this poem. I had a moment of reflection, which is what drew out what I just read. I wrote this poem back in November of 2018. I tend to get lost in my own head, and it triggers a whole mess of emotions, most of the time dragging me down, sometimes even keeping me there for a good period of time. Life is not fair, as I'm sure most of you had figured out by now. I feel as though no matter how hard I push forward, I always have this wall, barrier, whatever you want to call it, that seems to throw me back with such a force that I am unable to get up, making myself feel like I have been defeated. Every time I look back, or even look what I have in front of me, I realize that I have not moved a fucking inch. I am the outsider looking in on myself, seeing that same person from years before, watching life move past her with no slowing down or hesitation. As the poem says, I am choking on life's lessons, assuming they are even lessons. I know it doesn't help to compare myself to others, but I find myself doing that sometimes. Like, why can't I get that? What do they have that I don't? This leads to self-criticism. Am I doing something wrong? Am I not doing enough? It also doesn't help that I also get criticism from others, never hesitating to point out the obvious. The last 2 stanzas basically describe a moment when I choose to surrender, surrendering to whatever forces are out there because I have no idea what to do anymore. Not necessarily give up, but throw my hands up and let the higher powers, whatever that might be, whatever happens, happens. Moving on to the next poem. This one does not have a title. There's nothing left to say. Things will eventually fall into place. It is time to push through and ignore what comes next. Her thoughts become a splitting image of a nagging fly that will never go away, finding it difficult to hold her tongue, struggling to keep it inside, refusing to give in to the chaos. She has no choice but to walk away. Another poem I wrote in 2017, kind of piggybacking the poem I recited before this one. This one has the same concept, but I think this one is more like a fuck it, I'm done, it's going to go where it's going to go type of attitude. I think in this poem, I was fed up. There is a little bit of hope lingering as the poem starts off, stating that eventually things will fall into place. How true that is, I can't really say. Then comes the buckle up buttercup approach. Basically, I am game for whatever you throw at me, bring it, I can take it. The second stanza is describing a I won't take no shit feeling, deciding to stand up and say what I need to say, showing that I will not back down. I will not let the chaos or struggle keep me from moving forward. A fighter, if you will. The end result being that I walk away from the bullshit that is keeping me from doing what I need to be doing or achieving. Honestly, I think I have this give and take thing happening with life, even in the present day. It's almost like life throws all of this shit at me, hoping I break, but I don't. I fight back, coming up stronger than before, letting life know that I'm not giving in. Other times, life cowers down and gives me a break, but before I get accustomed to that so called break, life decides to be the prick we all know and throws me back down. Whatever, that's life. Alright, so these last four poems do not have titles yet. Here is the next poem. I suddenly forgot what it was like to have tolerance. The more I encounter, the more I realize not everyone is worthy of my time. There's a saying that goes, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. However, it's difficult to depict who's a friend and who's an enemy. Those closest to me, people who I assume are close to me, are always the ones I should approach with caution. One minute they are sharing kind words and warm smiles, a minute later reciting words of disdain. I can see through the bullshit. There's no need to pretend. I make no room for betrayers. This is a poem that describes the many times I have encountered people who think I can't see through their superficial exterior. I call out the bullshitters when I see them, whether I am liked at the end or not. Honestly, I don't care, but it happens. My tolerance level for people like that has dwindled down to zero. I have had to learn the hard way about who I keep close and who I flat out kick to the curb. I don't really know if the keep your enemies closer thing is even achievable, at least for me. I know who someone is before even knowing them, if that makes sense. I am good at reading people by the way someone talks, the words they use, the way they present themselves or attitude, the people that they surround themselves with, all of it and beyond. I can read someone faster than you can say your name. I know this sounds cocky, but my intuition has never steered me wrong. If I get a bad vibe from someone, it is usually pretty accurate. This applies to everyone, whether I am close to them or not. I can call someone out and not hesitate, nor will I feel bad if the things I say are on the harsh side. A trait I honestly never regret. On to the next one. Again, no title for this one either. Tucked into the blackest corner, I look to the darkness for comfort, hoping it will give me security. Concentrating on my breathing. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathing in, holding it as long as I can. I cannot give away my location. I lose sight of my intentions, drowning in my thoughts, losing control of my emotions. I can feel myself giving in to the black essence that surrounds me. The darkness has become my home, my sanity, my security. At first, I didn't think this poem had any ties to me personally, but after reading it out loud, I realized how much I actually relate to this poem. I have had my fair share of being locked in the darkness, aka depression, and to be honest, I still experience it. The words I used in this poem are pretty deep. The dark, black corners that lures its way into my everyday life is scary. I can be fine one minute, and the next minute I am left to deal with a flood of thoughts that bring me down, unsure of how to get out. It's like depression knows when you start thinking a certain way, and once it picks up on it, it races for an opportunity to interfere. one has to hold their breath in order for that darkness to move past you, like you're invisible. All right, so this next poem is fairly short. Again, a no-name poem. Whisper to me words of sanity. Help me through this life and show me something better. I am holding on too tight. I'm afraid of slipping away. Again, another poem that connects with the other poems. This poem describes a moment of insanity, a moment of throwing in the towel and calling it quits, maybe even fearing the outcome or aftermath of giving up or giving in. I often feel that I am, more often than not, losing my grip on life, desperately needing and wanting someone to come along and provide a helping hand, show me that I am not going insane or losing my grip. This poem doesn't describe a defining moment or event, it's just putting words on paper and watching something unfold. In this case, a poem. Okay, ladies and gents, this will be the last poem I recite for today, another poem with no title, so here it is. Take me to a place you don't know. Love me like you mean it and never stop. Let's hide from the world and pretend we don't exist. Okay, so this poem kind of sounds like a love poem, and maybe it is, but for the sake of the theme of this episode, I'm going to say it's not a love poem. I think at this point, while writing this poem, I just needed and wanted to get away from it all, disappear somewhere no one has discovered, and hide from the world with the person I love, or at least a person who wouldn't mind sharing the moment with me. Sometimes it's nice to disappear from the world and the people in it for a while, to just go to a place you've never ventured before, to explore new surroundings. It sounds serene. Something, honestly, I still have to do. And on that note, I am going to close the show by saying thank you to those of you who are always tuning in, and even those who are just joining in. I hope you liked what you heard, and tune in next time. You can catch this and future episodes at anchor.fm/fractured poet. This episode of Fractured Poet was written and produced by me, Katrina Wisniewski. Music by Alternative Rock Volume 1 and Rock Electronica Volume 4 from a website called freeplaymusic.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Fractured Poet. And as always, thanks for listening, and until next time, guys.